know what's funny is I realized that whole time that mic was on mute. That's funny. Okay, so I misunderstood what Jim was saying. That's too bad. I really wish someone else could have given me a heads up on that. That's okay though. I just did a whole Shevchenko and Maia review, UFC review. What's funny is I realized that whole time that mic was on mute. Okay. All right. So epic fail, as I was saying, guys. There's gonna be an adjustment with this podcast, and so there's a lot on the checklist. I got like 10 things to go down the checklist with, and I missed the most basic one on the checklist, and that's to unmute my mic. So, all right, that's lovely. I'm gonna try not to beat myself up too much about that, though. So, let's just power through this, man. That's a bummer, because yeah, it's funny because earlier in the beginning of the podcast, Jim was saying having trouble hearing you on the Bluetooth, and then I said, is that any better? I fixed it, and then he just said, I'm at work, I'll catch you later. So I assumed he could hear me, it's just not great. So that was my fault. I'll take full accountability for that. So now I'll really focus on this checklist. And the funny thing about me is, like, I have a hard time working through checklists unless it's my own writing or if it's typed out. If it's someone else's handwriting, for some weird reason, I'll overlook stuff. Let me know if this happens to any of you guys too, because I don't know if that's just me or what, but that's always something that's been a thing for me. Like, if I don't, I'll even take instructions sometimes or something and rewrite it just in my own handwriting so that I can lay it out the way I want to. That way I don't miss anything, and that way it's all just right there for me. So that's what I'm gonna have to do with this, because I'm reading someone else's handwriting, and that's just not gonna work for me. So but anyways, I apologize for that, guys. So what I was doing before what I was talking about before I actually realized I wasn't even turned on was the Tyson and Roy Jones fight. Let me just back it up a little bit here. Since you guys missed my whole review about Shevchenko and Maia, that's really unfortunate, because like what I was saying was I'm a huge Shevchenko fan, and like I had a lot to talk about. I mean, the last half hour was just Shevchenko and Maia fight. So back to the Roy Jones Jr. and Tyson fight. Let me just back it up. So this is a high profile match. I mean, everybody, when I first heard it, it was like unbelievable. It's like, really? Both those guys are stepping back into the ring? And let alone both those guys being champions. Like, these dudes are dominant in that sport, and we're both very good at it. I was a huge Roy Jones Jr. fan when I was really into boxing, probably like 15 plus years ago. Dude's really good. Guy's really quick. This is what I was saying when I realized I was muted. He's really quick. He's got quick jabs. He moves quick. Really light on his feet. At least he was. It's funny because when I watched the weigh-ins, those dudes they both look like they were kind of out of shape, in my opinion. So it's funny because it just highlights the fact that this is literally just a money suck event, which they all are. But I mean, they're just money suckers. This event is going to bring in millions of dollars. I mean, tons of money, tons of viewers. And so I think it was very smart for these guys to do this, especially right now when everybody's at home. They're looking for big events, high profile matches like this. No doubt, I imagine the UFC 255 was also a big turnout too, but I imagine this is probably going to top any viewing, any sporting event viewing, and any TV and or Netflix event, in my opinion. I'd have to check the numbers on that, but this is huge in my opinion. Anybody who's followed boxing and or just sports in general. So yeah, anyways, I'm a huge Roy Jones Jr. fan, but I'm also a Tyson fan, so this is a tough one for me. To be honest, there's not one of them that I would rather win. And I don't know if I've ever felt that way about a fight. That's so strange to me. Out of all the fights I've ever watched. In case you don't know much about me and fighting, I was a huge mixed martial arts fan. I don't fight myself or anything like that. As a kid I did, but not a lot. Definitely no skills at all. But me and my friend Little Josh and a few other friends of mine were really into that shit, and it started off with wrestling. Wrestling was our thing. It was fake, but we knew it, and it was cool. Then all of a sudden, me and Little Josh stumbled across UFC. We're watching Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie, and Don Fry, and all these veterans, Mark Coleman, Big Daddy Gary Goodridge. I mean, we're talking old school names here. Boss Rutan. And so we were really heavily get into that. And then, I'm talking, we watch every fight, every cage fight, every UFC. And then we capped out so much on that we stumbled upon Pride Fighting Championships, which is, if you're not familiar with Pride Fighting Championships, it's in Japan, and it's relatively similar to UFC, except it's in Japan. But I will say, in my personal opinion, I like Pride Fighting better than UFC. I don't know why that is. Well, yeah, I do. First of all, I didn't really care for the ropes. They have ropes, just like wrestling. I didn't care much for that. I kind of like the cage better than that, so I guess they got that going for them. But they have different rules too. You can kick them in the face when they're on the ground. That's pretty brutal, to be honest. You can't do that in UFC. I think you could do the north-south knee to the head, meaning if you're reversed with somebody, you're head-to-head, and you're kind of grappling them, you can knee them in the top of their head. You can't do that in the UFC. And so little rules like that that kind of make it a little more interesting. And their fighter lineups were really impressive, and I really enjoyed their crowd audience. The Pride Fighting Champion, or Pride Fighting, yeah, that is what it's called, Pride Fighting Championship audience is relative to the audience that UFC has now, which is silence. It's quiet. When you watch a Pride Fighting Championship, a lot of it is just quiet. They are so focused on watching the match. It's pretty impressive, actually, to have that many people in one event be so in tune with what's going on. You'll never find that in America, It could be a cultural thing, but I was really impressed by that, and that's why I was drawn towards Pride Fighting. So anyways, I'm going on a rant. I just wanted to let you guys know I'm a huge mixed martial arts fan. It goes back. My life has really took me away from it, but I still have an interest towards it. I just can't follow it all the time and follow every fighter like I used to and be heavily into it. I can't do that with any sports. I love basketball, I love football. I really don't carve out the time to watch any of that because it's an investment for me. It's an investment. It owns space in my head, and I really just don't have room for it. I really just don't make the room for it, rather. And so, yeah, I just appreciate it still. But yeah, I love this. This is right in my alley still. And when we get high profile fights with people that I especially know about, like Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., it's very captivating. So anyways, we'll keep our eyes on that. Oh, and by the way, I haven't heard Roy Jones talk a lot. Or I have heard him speak, but I don't remember his mannerisms, his demeanor, his message, what kind of guy he is. And so I can't really speak too much on Roy Jones Jr. Now, a lot of us have heard Mike Tyson talk. He's a very outspoken dude. He's a very unique individual. He's got a lot to say, and he's got a lot of interesting viewpoints as well. And so, basically, I admire Tyson, to be honest. He'll say some dumb shit. I mean, and by the way, we'll all say dumb shit. You'll catch me if you go back. I mean, shit, this is episode 49. You don't think I said some dumb shit in any one of these episodes? Of course I have. I will. Everybody always says dumb shit at some point or another, which is why it's really hard to be, why I would never want to be a politician or any high profile person in general, just because they just expect perfection, it feels like sometimes, and people kind of forget. So when something dumb comes out of someone's mouth, it really isn't taken with a grain of salt. People take that to heart, and they really just kind of go for the jugular. And so yeah, it's just an interesting concept. But Mike Tyson takes a lot of risk. He with his verbal mouthpiece. And I really appreciate, when I said he's admirable, what I mean by that is he's very honest. And I appreciate anybody who's very honest, especially people who are very successful and have gone through adversity, and are honest about that journey that they went through. Meaning, about, when I say honest, they talked about the bad stuff, the shit they don't want people to hear. Once people start talking about things they're not proud of, their demons, their insecurities, there's a vulnerability to that's respected. In my personal opinion, it is for me, absolutely, and I have suspicion that it is from a lot of people too. That's why I absolutely admire David Goggins. First of all, he motivates the fuck out of me. Whereas I do need a little bit of motivation. I slack too. I'm just like a normal human being. So a motivated guy like that, who's been through adversity, or Tyson, and that has become successful, makes a huge impact on me. And so, yeah, I admire Tyson for, I seen this one interview with him talking to Lil Boosie, the rapper. And Lil Boosie was just like kind of being controversial a little bit. He was telling Tyson, like, what have you done to earn my respect? And Tyson was just like, what has he done to earn your respect? What do you do for him? Do you expect anything in return? He was just asking me. He went into the Inquisition. And I like that about Tyson. Tyson is all about the Inquisition. And I feed off that, because my sales is Inquisition. The biggest part, the most successful part about selling and sales is the Inquisition. If you're not familiar with that, that's basically just asking the hard questions. When you find an individual who can ask hard questions, that's a guy who can get things done. And that's something that's, some people are fortunate to kind of have that in them. I think for a lot of people, that's got to be kind of built upon, and it's not so much, it's not just a given. So I think, just going back to, kind of rambling here, sorry. Going back to the dumb things, I don't take things that people say that are dumb, or maybe even offensive. I don't quickly cut them out or off them. I always give someone a chance to kind of explain themselves a little bit. And more importantly, even if I say something dumb, or it might come across as dumb or inconsiderate or offensive, I'll kind of just reiterate and emphasize to people that, like, hey, in case you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, this is what I mean by that. This is not what I mean by that. And I'm not saying, I don't usually explain that just to cover my ass or appeal to people and make sure that I'm not hurting anybody's feelings, or that I care about what other people think. I'm doing that so you can get a clear understanding of what kind of individual I am and what I'm trying to say. Because if you misunderstand me, that's a misrepresentation of who I am, and now you got a distorted vision of the type of person I am and the type of stuff that comes out of my mouth. And so I don't just write people off like that. I really give people a chance, even the ones that are the cruelest. Now, obviously, there's a point where you're like, okay, I'm done. This person, me and this person are like water and oil. So, but usually, if you're a smart individual, you know when that time is. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Like I said, that was just my spiel on Tyson, and I think he's just a real solid dude. And like I said, back to that Boosie interview, he was just asking him like personal questions, like, why you do this? Why you do that? What happened in your childhood that makes you want to do this, do that? And when he was asking that, I was just thinking, I was like, man, Tyson's really in touch with himself, man. Like, he's really went into himself, because he was just saying, he's like, dude, the The reason why I'm so scary to people is because I projected that image on everybody because I was so scared. He says that to this day. He's like, I'm still a scared little boy, dude, inside. And that's why I projected that fear, and I want people to fear me. That's just honesty, man. So I appreciate that and I admire that from anybody in any form. So there it is. We'll keep our eyes on the Tyson Roy Jones Jr. fight, and I'll give you a review update here next week. All right, we'll find out what happens. It's going to be interesting. And yeah, by the way, the first half hour of this podcast, you guys didn't hear me talking about Shevchenko and Maia, but if I was to put that all in a nutshell, basically Shevchenko, I'm a huge fan. I love her. I've been following her for over a year now, I think, and she's just she impressed me immediately, and she caught my attention. So I was very happy to see her get the win. That was the first time, though, I will say that's the first time I see Shevchenko be neutralized for any point in time. That was one of the biggest takeaways I had from that fight, is that Maia had her in the second round. She had her on the ground and against the ropes quite a bit, and she had her neutralized. You know, she was just kind of pinning her against the cage and working her. And that was when things were looking good for her. It was in the third round when Shevchenko was keeping her distance and finding her range, that it just started going south for Maia. Very good fight, though. They went the distance, and Maia, tough gal. But Valentina Shevchenko is a rock. I mean, she's really tough. So yeah, she won the fight, and I look forward to her next fight because she's a very good fighter and she deserves it. So let's move on past those contagious combos. I just realized I'm gonna have to get used to talking for long periods of time because I noticed my voice is starting to get all dry just from talking shit. It hasn't even been an hour yet. Of course, first half hour I was talking to myself, right? Fuck. Yeah, that's great. So yeah, like I said, appreciate you guys' patience. Trying to go down the checklist of everything is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. So I got like 11 out of 12 on the checklist, right? Just forgot to hit the old unmute on the mic. But let's talk about I have like 4 or 5 different viral viewpoints, and I'm just going to go into them because there's probably don't have enough time for all of them. So let's go with the most talked about viral viewpoint, which also could have been the contagious combo, and that's still about, we're gonna go back into the politics. That's with Trump and Biden. You know, and right now Trump is still not conceding to basically forfeit the presidency to Biden, and so that seems to be the biggest news right now. Well, here's an interesting thing, though, and I was watching Candace Owens talk about this a little bit. As you know, she's pro-Trump, and she's got a lot of political views that are very profound. She started the Blexit movement, and so I follow her a lot too. And again, I really admire that chick. And going back to people saying dumb shit, she said some dumb shit that I couldn't believe about, like climate change not being real. And she was just saying she just doesn't believe it. Not only that, she was saying she doesn't have any facts to believe it or not believe it. She just said she simply doesn't believe it. So when you say something like that, that's dumb, you know. But, you know, if she ever was confronted about that, she said this on the Joe Rogan podcast, if she ever said that or was confronted about that and she said, yeah, I probably should have said that, I was just dumb for saying that, you got my respect. Like, that's all it takes from me is accountability. Accountability goes a long way with me. So but yeah, that was just an example of how people say dumb shit. But she was mentioning that she put out a post on Facebook about how Biden is not president right now. He's not even president-elect, apparently. I guess technically Trump has to concede, whatever you call it. He has to concede for Biden to even be president-elect. I don't know the facts on this. I don't know how true this is or not true this is. It's just something I just heard today. But it was intriguing, and so that's why I'm kind of parroting it. And so that was one thing I heard her talking about, was that she put a message out there that Biden was in fact not the president-elect, and Facebook removed her propaganda, her messaging, and censored her and sent her a message with links with a bunch of rules about the presidency, and all of it, none of it said, apparently she actually read through it, she said none of it actually said indicated that Biden was president-elect. And so that seems to be the biggest thing right now, because now that has me wondering. And then she started going into this could be setting up for civil unrest or civil war, call it what you will. For some reason my screen just shut off. So what she means by that is, I hope she's wrong, but she's saying that now everybody thinks Biden's going to be president. Well, what if Trump ends up winning that case and he ends up being president for the next 4 years? That's probably going to start a lot of problems in the local communities, I would say. Even the people, I mean, just normal. It's going to start, like he was saying, it's going to start a civil war, maybe. I think she could be onto something. Obviously, we're just speculating, and could, should, would. But that was her prediction, is that this could be potentially setting up for civil war or civil unrest, because and obviously she's banking on the fact that if Trump in fact wins the case, that's what she's kind of referring to, that now all these people have been invested in Biden. They're all convinced that Biden won, and in fact he's not. And I can see that being devastating for a lot of people who are convicted. Matter of fact, I guess I didn't know this, but I did know it, but I didn't really think about it until it's not in my face a lot. But I just didn't realize how convicted people are about politics. As a person who I don't care about the politics right now. Obviously, I care about the things that happen to taxes and all these things that are going to impact me. Yeah, I care about that, but I'm not a person that is convinced that my vote counts, and therefore I'm just not a voter, and the chips are going to fall where they land. And again, that could be considered something dumb to say too. That could definitely very well be someone's opinion about my statement right there. But I don't understand why people are so upset. They get their feelings mixed up. They get all worked up over politics. Here's an example. Basically, my guy, okay, so I had a job going on, and one of my employees is wearing a Trump hat. But I don't care about what my guys wear on the job. I mean, obviously, they can't have profanity or drugs or alcohol or sexual things on their clothing, which they don't. But as far as political caution goes, I don't really care about what my guys are wearing as far as a hat goes. Well, apparently he was wearing a Trump hat. And when I was talking to the contractor on the job, he made that comment. He's like, I really don't need guys out here wearing their Trump hats and spreading their Trump propaganda on my job sites. And I was like, I didn't even notice the guy was wearing a Trump hat. Like, I didn't know that bothered you. I mean, I don't really care about anybody's opinion, their political opinion. And he's like, I can't really remember exactly what he said verbatim, but he was upset about it. He's like, I don't care. It's over. Biden's president. It's over. So you can put all the Trump shit away. And he was just so worked up over this. And I was like, look, man, like, I'm not going to tell my employees what they can and cannot wear on the job site unless it's something reasonably inappropriate. And And so he finally reeled it back a little bit, but he still was just adamant about like, I don't want to see that on my job site. And so it really surprised me. I didn't know anybody was that bothered that they don't even want somebody wearing that clothing, even if they're providing a service for them. They don't want you wearing clothing at their house like that. You know, it's just mind-boggling to me. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of sad. It's a lot of things. It's sad because that political, you know, opinion is owning space in that man's head, and he's letting his emotions get a hold of him a little bit. So that was an example of how I've seen, you know, people just get so emotionally wrapped up and invested in these politics. It's fucking crazy. So I thought that was pretty funny. Let's shift gears. So we'll just keep our eyes out. Like I said, obviously, if Trump does remain president, this is going to be that's definitely going to be a contagious conversation to have. And we will do that as well. So let's move on. Let's get on over to the one of these other topics that I had, and this is basically this is about the vaccine, right? The vaccine. This is so weird. I'm gonna be honest. Let's just start with my opinion about this vaccine availability. Let me get a drink here, though. All right. So, the vaccine. I don't know what to believe. First, it's, you know, the vaccine's not going to be ready until, you know, year and a half. Now the vaccine is going to potentially be ready next summer. Now the vaccine is going to be ready in December. I don't know what the fuck to believe. And when I hear so much inconsistencies like that, I personally can't trust anybody. When there's just so much inconsistencies like that, it just shatters any trust. Not that I had any trust with the CDC or the government, but it doesn't help them. Let's put it that way. And there's a lot of inconsistencies. Let's we'll start talking about some of those. What I'm talking about. So sorry, I was writing something down there for anybody who's just listening. So basically, what's weird, okay, yeah, if you're going to change the date in which the vaccine is actually going to come out, that's fine. But what's even worse about that is I heard that vaccine wasn't going to be ready until next summer. And then I shit you not, it was probably 2 weeks or less that I heard that the vaccine was going to be out by December 10th. Now, what happened in that 2 week period of time for them to change their mind drastically as far as being able to generate a timeline on that? That is wild to me. That doesn't even make any sense. How can you change your timeline that much in just a 2 week period of time when all you've said is that this is a very extensive, very procedure, this is very technical procedure. It's got to be done right. It takes time. And then all of a sudden it's going to be ready in a couple weeks. Because I mean, literally we're talking a couple weeks here. It went from a year to a couple weeks in a couple weeks time of news. Which to me just seems so fucking weird. And anybody, if that doesn't cause any concern to anybody, it should, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but there are some things where it's just like you should question it. I'm not really a conspiracy guy, but I am a guy who likes to question things, and I teach my daughter to also question things. Of course, it kind of backfired because she questions me all the time, but no, I love that. I love hard-hitting questions, and I love my daughter asking me questions too. But yeah, let me get into this. But basically, I wanted to let you guys know that my personal opinion is I am completely turned off. I don't trust the vaccine. I barely trust the CDC. I don't trust the government. Having a hard time here. And as far as vaccine goes, I understand how this works, but I'm having a hard time making sense of this when we're talking about the vaccine and spread of the virus. Okay, so it's only targeting people who are already have a compromised immune system or the elderly people, right? Because they probably have a compromised immune system just from old age. And so if those are the only types of people that it's targeting, I don't understand why we just don't provide the vaccine to those people. Why? For the people that want, there's two ways to combat the virus. You can either get a vaccine, which is, it's been man-made, I guess. I mean, it's derived from the virus, but it's basically synthetic. I think you would call it that, right? It was brought into a lab and it was harnessed. And I understand that it definitely does the job. It makes the antibodies that you need in your body to fight off the coronavirus should it ever invade your system again. But for those people that don't want to take the virus and are perfectly okay with don't want to take the vaccine rather, and are perfectly okay with getting the virus naturally and being immune that way, I don't understand why we can't just do that and let the herd immunity take its course and then just protect the people who are vulnerable, like the elderly and the people who have a compromised immune system. Those people should be taking the vaccine. I don't think the people that are perfectly healthy and are okay to actually get sick and build their immune system the old-fashioned way, I don't see a need for them to take the vaccine. So somebody please help me out with this. Why is there a need for the healthy people to take the vaccine? Is that just to speed up the herd immunity? I don't know. And if we did vaccinate all the people that are susceptible to get contracting it easier, is there a hurry to get herd immunity? I wouldn't think there is, because there's nothing left but healthy people, and they're okay with fighting a virus. It's just like the flu. When I get sick, I stay home and I take care of myself. I don't start freaking out and figure out, like, how can I prevent this from happening again? Is there something I can stick in my body that might build my immune system so that when it comes back, it's not going to happen again? Like, I don't even go there. It's just something that I'm prepared for, or as much as I can be. I just kind of take it in stride, and if I get sick, I get sick, and I buckle down and take care of myself until I feel better. But yeah, I'm having a hard time with that. So somebody please help me out with this, because that's an inconsistency right there. Not even nearly about the ones I'm going to mention here in a second, but that is an inconsistency in amongst the timeline of the vaccine, which is a huge inconsistency. But yeah, it should be for the vulnerable, in my opinion. And then the people that are actually healthy just shouldn't be. So yeah, I covered all that. That's pretty much all I had to say about the vaccine. Please give me some input on that, contribute if you guys know any facts about this. Help me out a little bit on that, because like I said, I'm kind of naive to the whole process, and it just some things I have a hard time making sense of. And so if I sound idiotic, it's because I am. It's because I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to the vaccine. I know a little bit about a little bit. I do know that they did say the vaccine, so the antibodies, if you were to get sick naturally and your immune system developed antibodies naturally, the sustainability of those antibodies I think they were even predicting timelines of months. That could only maybe be just a few months of staying in your immune system. And they were saying that the vaccine can last years maybe. And so I don't know. I'm just getting weird when they start saying shit like that. Like, why are you? Because immediately they're painting this picture. If you had the vaccine and just a natural way of getting immunity, they're putting the vaccine on a pendulum, a higher pendulum, meaning that you're going to have more. You're going to have more longevity as far as the antibodies being developed in your system go. So I don't know how much of that shit is true. I will say it's fucking fishy though. And I don't trust it. Like I said, when there's so many inconsistencies, you just lost my trust completely. Yo, what's up, Snakes? Glad to have you, man. Could have used some feedback earlier, man. I did the podcast, like the first half hour. I did the Shevchenko and versus Maia UFC fight, and my mic was muted. So good thing I caught it though, half hour in, right before I started to review talk about the Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. fight. But yeah, we got it on point now, kind of going through the vaccine thing. But yeah, so what you were saying was you have zero facts, but you agree 100% with my analysis and feelings in regards to the vaccine and its distribution. Yeah. And it's just a lot of propaganda too about I don't know who I was listening to in the radio, but they were like, what we need is for people to trust in the vaccine. If they're not going to do this and they're not going to take it, we're going to have this problem for years and years and years. And I'm just like, the propaganda is really heavy. The fear is really being pushed into the media right now as far as the COVID. I'm more afraid of the fucking propaganda than I am of the virus. I'm not even afraid of the virus. And you might think I'm a fucking idiot for saying that. That could also be considered some dumb shit that comes out of my mouth too, but I don't think so. I'm hearing crazy numbers right now that I don't even have any facts to. I don't know where these numbers are coming from. Like, what was that? 50 people are dying every hour from COVID? I just heard this on the radio. I don't even know how to fact check this shit. So it just seems very far-fetched that 50 people an hour are dying a day. Let's do the math on this. Let's do some math here. So we're saying 1,200 people in a day have died from this at the rate they just said right now. In a week. Wow. You're telling me 8,400 people have died in a week. Let's do a month. So that would accumulate to 252,000 a month. Again, I don't know. I think, aren't we at like 250,000 cases just in general? And they're predicting, what they're telling me right now is there's more than that in just 1 month period time based on those numbers and time frame that they're mentioning. It seems like bullshit to me. 50 people dying an hour from coronavirus. I don't even see enough of that on the news. Like, I don't see like real cases. You know what I mean? Like, Janie was, sick for 2 weeks until she found out she was diagnosed with coronavirus, and then she spent, X amount of days in here until her last days, and and then they have some interviews of some people. Like, there's none of that. I've never seen any of that. I'm sure it's probably out there, but there should be a lot of it if there's this many people dying from it. The shit is crazy. So I wish I had a little more fact checks, a little more fact checking resources to kind of lean on this topic, but I don't. And so I'm unfortunately reliant upon external information, which can be very misleading, especially when you're getting it through the media. That's all that is. The media will take you the direction they want you to go. And if you remember that, you won't be so easily persuade. You will question things more. You will look at things from different angles. You know what I mean? Instead of just accepting all this shit that's being spoon-fed to you at face value. Just be really careful with that. Question a lot of things. Let's keep an eye out on this vaccine. That's my opinion of it. We'll just keep an eye on it and give you updates as we go through it and see how this pans out. Like I said, I think December 10th was the date for it to start being distributed. So we shall see. So yeah, the other thing here, the last thing I would like to talk about is mental health. So 1 second here. Man, I gotta get used to talking a lot. That's crazy. And realize I kind of feel bad for the keynote speakers and people that do, seminars and selling out stages, and they're talking for 2 hours straight to 100,000 people. Jesus, because my throat is all scratchy. I better get used to it. Better do some throat exercises. Oh, hold the jokes though. Hold the jokes. All right. Okay, so mental health. Let's talk a little bit about this. I'd like to get some people's opinion. Let you know where I'm at with it. It's a good topic. It's a good topic, all right? And I think it's especially a good topic right now because mental health is at an all-time high decline. It's at an all-time low, rather. Suicide rates have gone up. There's a lot of depression. It's gone up. All the negative things that are happening to people have gone up. Heartache and hardships and struggles, adversities, all this stuff is just ramping up. And it's not going to get any easier when we're shutting things down and we're locking up the America again. I'm really scared, actually, as far as and what's odd is I'm selflessly scared more for other people. I'm not even scared about myself, and I should be, but for some weird reason I'm more concerned about other people's situation, my friends and family. And yeah, because like I said, although I might have my own hardships and I might, I'll be going down the same struggle everybody else is going to be going down, but for some weird reason I'm really thinking about everybody else first on this one, and I feel for the families out there. But mental health is definitely huge. This is something that needs to be nurtured. It needs to be, you got to pay attention to it. You got to regulate it. You got to analyze it. It's got to be something you focus on, or not even focus on, aware of. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about what you're doing? How are you going to feel about that same thing tomorrow? How'd you feel the day before? What is doing this thing going to do for your mental health? Is your mental health more important than anything else? That's my biggest question, actually. That's a great question. Is your mental health more important than, I'll use some examples. Finances, securing your finances. Is your mental health more important than your family? Is your mental health more important than, oh God, what else could your health? Like your physical health, that is. This is a slippery slope of a topic, and this can easily be just a can of worms that can go a lot of different directions and have a lot of viewpoints, which I actually like. And so I kind of wish there was a few more people that could join us with this topic to contribute a little bit of what their thoughts are on it. But I guess that's my biggest question is, think about your mental health and ask yourself, how important is your mental health, and where does that sit in your list of 10 most important things to focus on in life? Honestly, answer that question, and I'd be interested to know what it is too. I'll let you know my answer on this. My mental health is not my biggest priority. A lot of people might say that it should be. A lot of people might say you need mental health. You need to be mentally healthy in order to do anything, in order to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And and there's a lot of value to, you know, those statements too. But I just don't. Oh, you know what? God, I hope that computer doesn't die on me. That's weird. I guess it doesn't hold the charge that long. I'm gonna have to bring up my charger now. So what was I saying before I got distracted with that? My mental health. That's right. It's not as important to me as it might be for other people. Meaning, I don't put my mental health before I do, you know, before anything. Now that I think about it, I don't put it before anything. Not one fucking thing. I never look at it and say, how is this going to affect my mental health? My mental health, a lot of my mental health, in my opinion, is built off of adversity. And if I am worried about my mental health, I'm not going to want to face adversity. Mental health, well, a healthy mental status probably consists of, you know, technically probably doesn't have adversity in it, if that makes sense. This is my opinion. And so in order to actually, for me, this is just me, this is how I view it. For me to get that mental health, I have to go through that adversity. I have to go through something very hard and overcome it so that I can feel that mental health. If I did it backwards, I was focused on my mental health. I'm like, okay, what can I do? You know, maybe yoga, meditate, whatever, you know, things like that, you know, find my chi, whatever. And if I did it that way and said, okay, I need my mental health in a perfect state before I go out into the world, or I can't be good to anybody, I think that would really shackle me from actually being productive at all. If I'm waiting for my mental health to be like that, it's never going to happen, because my mental health is constantly growing, and it's not to where it's going to be. I have a goal. My mental health has a goal, and I have to go through things. It's going to take years. I have to go through these things in order to hit that pinnacle of mental health, if you will. And so I've accepted that my mental health is not going to be superb. It's not going to be rainbows and puppy dogs and all this shit. First, I got to go through the adversity. I got to go through the hard times. I got to build a base and build a foundation and build into my mental health. This is how I view it. This is kind of how I look at it. And the days that I get, you know, as David Goggins likes to put, you know, poopy pants, and we all have those days. Trust me, I've had those days. You know, the days I get poopy pants, you know, I don't think of the mental health aspect of it. I'm not like, okay, my mental health is not in a good state right now. Should I be doing this? Should I not be doing that? Actually, more times than not, if my mental health is if I'm not liking something I'm doing, that's usually an indication that I should be doing it more often and more frequently and a lot, and until that uncomfort goes away. So it's actually the opposite for me. So why am I talking about mental health so much? Because I feel like it's one of those things people hide behind. It's like, and I'm not trying to sound insensitive to like people who have depression or anything like that, but as a person, we all get depressed. Now, what labels a depressed person, what takes them from being depressed every now and then, as you know, all humans are, even if it's for 5 minutes of your day, even if it's 5 minutes a month, you're depressed. When does it turn into being labeled depression, and then they start throwing pills down your throat? I've always hated the concept of depression. I've never understood it. I have a compassion for it, and I've had some long conversations, hour-long conversations with, counselors about this. Counselors who have depression and who are treating themselves, I had an hour-long conversation with one of my counselors years ago. She took antidepressants. She was like in her 60s, and she was talking to me about, I told her my opinion just like I am right now, but it was a little more raw than that. Back then I was a little more aggro about it, where I would just say, I think depression's full of, it's phony. It's not even real. It's all made up in the head. Whereas now I do think it's a real thing. But I think it's played out. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's like a flagrant foul. You see the basketball players, if they're going up for a shot and they get fouled lightly, and the dude just does an over dramatized, throws himself on the ground, starts rolling around, it's one of those type of situations where it's like, ooh, we got something here we can kind of hide behind. Let's play this. Let's milk this. That's what it feels like to me. It seems like a lot of people are looking for excuses to not take action and be complacent, be normal, be average. And I think depression and bad mental health is two of those catalysts for people doing that. I think any one of us, in my opinion, can sit here and say I'm depressed. Any one of us can sit here and say my mental health is not good. I really think it's more of a decision than not. And I'm not saying every single case. This is not me saying like everybody who says they're depressed and have bad mental or have poor mental health are lying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's being exacerbated. I'm saying the people that are taking advantage of that illness probably can make it in life just fine. They just don't know how to go through adversity, and so they label it depression, and they label it bad mental health, or there's an excuse. It's an excuse, in my opinion. And again, I don't wish depression or poor mental health on anybody. I hope to God that I maintain a real good mental health as I go on through life. I'm normal, you know what I mean? Like I get down. Life is a roller coaster. Like, I mean, it's human. It's just part of life. And so, yeah, the mental health though, let's bring it back a little bit. It's not my priority. I'm focused on action that's going to build my mental health, not build my mental health so that I can take action. I don't think you're going to get anything done when you do it that way. If you're waiting for something, you're waiting for anything, it's not going to happen. It is just not going to. If you're waiting for a check, you're waiting for somebody, you're waiting for a job, you're waiting for the government to open things back up, you're waiting. Nothing is going to happen. It is not. It's simply not. I'm going to be the bearer of bad news unless you actually put things into motion and you're really fucking aggressive, and you start putting 10x into things you do. You're going to see results. You really are. Matter of fact, I didn't see any results with anything in my life until I started putting in a lot of action. And in case you don't know who that book is by, that's it's called 10X Rule, and Grant Cardone is the author. I really admire that guy as well. He's successful real estate guy who went through a lot of adversity as well. But that's one of the things I learned from him about, I think it's been, a year and a half ago now, is that, if you want results, do 10 times the amount of what you normally would do, and you might get some results then. You know what I mean? A little here, a little there, and then expecting some results ain't gonna happen. If you're waiting for those results, you're waiting, ain't gonna happen. So, same thing with mental health. If you're waiting for that magical whatever, that magical job, that magical drug, that magical girlfriend, that magical house, you name it, it's not going to happen. You have got to make it happen. And so if someone truly cares about their mental health, you would think long term. What you really got to analyze your life and figure out what is going to make me happy long term, and what can I do right now to start putting those things into motion. What can I do to make sure you know, my mental health doesn't interfere with this growth process, because that's what's going on with a lot of people. I think the mental health thing could be a speed bump and an obstacle and a hurdle. It's just another variable to throw into the mix. Just get rid of it. Just don't even focus on it, unless, and again, like I said, this could be partly because I'm naive to this thing. There could be people that are truly can't manage their life because their mental health is so fucking unstable. I don't understand that part, okay? And I probably believe that there are a handful of people like that. I tend to think that there's not near as many people as claim to be, because people like to take advantage of situations and terms and things that they can cloak themselves behind. Mental health is a cloak, in my opinion. In general, like I said, there are the exceptions where people are actually generally can't manage their life. But you know, for me, I am willing to sacrifice my mental health, I guess, if you will. This is not saying like I'm gonna be miserable, you know, I'm gonna be bitter, and I'm gonna be you know, it's just not, it's not black and white, and it's not far right and it's far left. I think the bad mental health is far one direction, in my opinion. But what I'm trying to say is I'm willing to sacrifice my mental health now for a more balanced and well-rounded mental health later on in the future, if that makes sense. It's just the same thing as far as delayed gratification when you're trying to work towards a goal. I've talked about this a few times too. When you know, it's really tough to delay that gratification. That's a skill that you have to develop. You have to learn it, and you got to implement it, and you got to keep it, you know, in action. So but it is the key to success, and I'm still struggling with that. So but I do notice the more I delay gratification, the better the payout is. So that tells me I should be doing it more, a lot more. And so when I'm talking about my mental health, and I'm sacrificing my mental health now for better mental health later, that's the only way I can describe it to you. It's the same thing I'm doing with my career, and you know, just a lot of things. You know, I'm still renting. You know, I could easily just run out and get a house right now and just fit in with society, get the old white picket fence house, me and my daughter, and just get a mortgage and start running business out of the house and all that. But I like to, you know, weigh out options a little bit more and delay the gratification for something that might make more sense. And so that's what I'm doing with that. Trust me, I don't like renting. This house I'm in it's a nice little house, but it is small for me trying to run a business. Even the 2-car garage is just not enough room. I'm overloaded with materials and tools. I mean, I needed a lot of room for this business, and so I've made a short-term plan to get, you know, what I need, which is room and another house. I just don't know how it's going to be executed yet. But that's kind of my plan. And so it just goes hand in hand with delayed gratification, though. And that's just another example I was using with you. So delayed gratification is where it's at. It really is. I think mental health, like I said, is something constantly to work on. and it needs to go well. Like you need to constantly be working on your mental health long term, to sustain the mental health longevity. It's not something like I need to address, what's wrong with me right now so that I can do something, because then the next time you don't feel right or off, you're gonna use that as a crutch again. And so that's really what I'm getting at, is the topic of your mental health being, and the question that I pose as far as, is your mental health more important than anything else? That is the bulk of this topic, is, where's mental health sit in your list of priorities? And again, for me, it's just not top priority. Now, of course, there's a point where if you're just so distraught and you're just so discombobulated, you're just so, jumbled in the head, you can't even get your thoughts together, you can't string a sentence together, you're damaged. That's a different thing. We're talking about debilitating now. We're talking about if your mental health is debilitating your performance and your production, then you need to address your mental health. But that's still not me encouraging starting at your mental health. That means there's a lot of other things that's going on in your life that's contributing to that mental health. It doesn't start with your mental health. I guess that's what I'm kind of getting at. Getting good mental health doesn't start with you working on your mental health. I think it is developed through the adversities and through just experiences. It doesn't have to be adversities. Adversities, in my opinion, are the best because you learn the most out of them. And in my opinion, you might also get the most mental health out of it, mental health boost out of it, I guess, if you will. And so, yeah, it's longevity. Because, like I said, if you just try to work on it in the now, it's going to come back up again. And you're going to be like, oh, my mental health is acting up again or whatever. I'm not feeling so good. This happened, last summer or whatever. And this is what I could just see that being, if you use it as an excuse ever, it's going to always be an excuse. And you're going to default to that anytime something hard comes up. And I have a suspicion a lot of people are doing that. They're looking for ways to not be accountable, and looking for ways to do less, and kind of fly under the radar and try to be successful without seeking attention. That is an oxymoron, in my opinion. Trying to be successful but also be low key is very rare. You have to be outspoken. You have to get attention. You have to demand attention. You got to be real assertive. These are skills you got to develop. These aren't, some of us are fortunate enough that they already have this in them, but me personally, I had to develop these type of skills. And it wasn't even until the last year and a half where I actually really focused my attention on those strengths. I never knew. It was selling that was the real thing for me. I thought selling was it was very unappealing to me, and selling has become a contributing factor to my mental health, because it feels really good to close somebody, and not in a, those of you who aren't really familiar with sales and closing and pitching, they're all different. There's a lot to be learned in the world of sales. And the funny thing about it is we do it all day, every day. So this is a topic I'll probably talk about again, because sales is really, and closing and pitching is like my most, it's the topic I've been focused on the most and the most recently, because there's so much to learn. It's a people, what would you call that? It's sales is a process in which you learn people and you understand people, and more importantly, you understand yourself and you develop responses, because there's only so many things a person can tell you. So sales is just a combination. It's just a process of you learning to deal with the rebuttals, have an answer for everything, knowing what to say as soon as you hear something. So it's almost like automatic. You hear something, you know exactly what to say. And so for me, that is a constant learning thing. And so it's part of my mental health because I feel really good. It's how I grow my business. And what's really good about that is I started off sucking at sales. I sucked royally. So it's a good feeling when you overcome something that you sucked at and you start getting better and better and better at something. And then more importantly, the thing that you're actually getting better and better and better at is you can harness that and build on that the rest of your life. So yeah, there's a lot to be said with sales, and it's not even negative connotation that people like to put on it. There's a real sour image with sales, and so there's just misinformation out there is all there is. But that played a huge part in my mental health to kind of tie that in with the mental health aspect. And that's an example of what I was telling you. Like, if I were to do that backwards and say, okay, I need to get my mental health at a state to where I can focus on my pitch. That way I can close people more. I don't think I would be as effective that way. And maybe some people work better that way. I tend to think that you're going to get more out of it working through it. You know what I mean? Just the hesitancy and being afraid to move forward is mental health shackles, basically. Because if you're going to hide behind the mental health part of it, you're not going to do anything. You're just not. Mental health is an excuse to not do anything, in my opinion. So, and that's just one amongst a lot of excuses. But yeah, that's pretty much, what I had to talk about as far as the mental health thing goes. And by the way, I really hope everybody's doing well. I have a lot of compassion for people. You know what I mean? Like, this is a fucked up time we're in, and we're all in it. That's the thing. So it's like, yeah, I mean, as bad as, we want to sit here and say this is just going to pass us by. And the fact is we don't know when, and we're all in this together. So I think it's good to check up on each other and do a lot of digital. I think it's good that a lot of people are taking the media into their own hands, like me doing a podcast, or I know a lot of other folks are doing podcasts as well. A lot of live streams, a lot of live music performances. I watched a podcast earlier where a guy was just doing bong rips with artists. It's like what was it called? Dabs with Washington artists or something like that. I was like, right on, that's cool. And that's what this has done. Everybody's just kind of explored things, and then trying new things. Something that simple as far as like, dabbing with Washington musicians or Washington artists. It's a good idea. I mean, all these are good ideas, and I think this is actually, in my opinion, the best time to be working on your mental health. It's the best time to, what would you say? Build or armor. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. This is the best time to armor your mental health and build on it, because this is a low time. This is like a depression. This is like a 20th century depression we're having here. And so It's one way to look at it. And when you keep it in mind like that, maybe just think about some things you could be doing. When I say this is a great time to work on mental health, think about some things that you enjoy, you love doing, because this is the time for it. If you have any spare time, any extra time now, think about something you've always wanted to do and start doing it. If it's something that's going to take a lot of resources and money, then get a plan for what that's going to take to get those resources and start doing that step by step. But I think things like that is a great example how I would say when someone's building their own thing, their mental health status is in good spirits, and they're feeling good about themselves. But then again, you gotta be ready for that roller coaster ride, because in every roller coaster you're gonna have a dip. And so the whole point of me talking about that is when that dip comes, learn to enjoy it and learn to get something out of it, or learn to endure the suck. Computer's about to shut off. Okay. Figure out how to endure it, because I think your mental health, and endure it towards a goal, you know what I mean? And towards something pivotal. Because I think, mental health can be like, that can be, again, if someone's going through struggle, they could easily want to default back to that, like, oh, this is bad for my mental health, I'm getting out of here. That's subjective. I wouldn't say it's bad for your mental health. I would even argue it's the opposite. It's great for your mental health, and it's actually a mental health builder. So I just challenging people, anybody who's struggling with the mental health thing, really do some soul searching and really look deep into yourself as far as what can you do to, just stay in the best mental spirits that you can. I can tell you, not doing anything and just focusing on mental health and doing minimal and just focusing on mental health is not the answer. Focusing on mental health involves doing things in your life. I think you can't just be focused on your mental health. Mental health is a byproduct of things that are happening to you. So you need to control what's happening in your life and where you're surrounding yourself in your atmosphere and how things are affecting you and what type of things affect you, and are they positive, are they negative? That's a better way to approach it, not just saying I have bad mental health, maybe a pill's gonna help me. I don't believe in that. So anyways, hopefully there were some good points I talked about. Hopefully I wasn't rambling too much. And again, I'm sorry about the first half hour of me reviewing Shevchenko versus Maia. Was not, the audio wasn't on. So my apologies. I take full accountability for that. And I'm just going to be real adamant about next podcast. I'm going to rewrite all that, and I'm going to go down the checklist. Cause yeah, apparently I missed that one. So we'll do that, but we're getting ready to wrap it up here. The computer is about to die. My throat is dry as shit. So this is definitely a good learning experience for me. Cause I didn't realize how dry my fucking throat was going to get after talking for 2 hours. So, it's been fun. So, this has been good, and like I said, the format's pretty much just going to be me talking about a lot of these things, so I hope I can still I'm able to contribute and provide value, and if I'm not, it'd be great to just have some conversations with people. And if they don't catch the podcast live, you could always reply and leave a comment on the section, and I'll be more than happy to chat and address any statement or anything that is referred to in those podcasts. So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. That's a weird sound, like a train or something making a high-pitched sound by my house. But yeah, this is pretty much how it's going to go. This is episode 49. I will see you next week on episode 50. So just bear with me as I go through these changes and I kind of acclimate myself and figure out all the reformatting things I want to do. And yeah, we'll just play it by ear, okay? But yeah, other than that, I will see you guys in a week. Have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic week. Be safe, stay healthy, stay mentally healthy, and yeah, until then, keep it viral and keep it contagious. Bye, guys.